I'm the Executive Director for the Orange Chamber of Commerce. I have a few people I'd like to thank, some announcements about upcoming events, and then I'll turn the microphone over to our President, Mike Riccitelli. I'd like to thank the committee. Committee members are Don Lewis, Mitch Goldblatt, Brian Fournier, Mike Riccitelli. They put together a wonderful program. They worked hard, and I hope you're going to be informed and enjoy the presentations this morning. I'd like to thank Dave Metzger from Signorama for our podium sign. I'd like to thank Dr. Ira Kleinfeld from the University of New Haven, and we have 4 visiting students from the University of New Haven for joining us this morning. Dr. Kleinfeld will be our moderator. And I'd like to thank the Chamber's ambassadors. We have Barbara Prince, Mike Shiner, Frank Dunrow, and Devin Taylor, who have volunteered their time to help us with the program this morning. Our next upcoming event is a ribbon cutting and grand opening for the Ocean Grill on the Boston Post Road on November 7th at 5 o'clock. Our next business after hours is at Area Diamonds on November 29th. And our holiday party will be December 6th at the Orange Ale House from 5:30 to 7:30. Enjoy the presentation this morning, and Mike.
Okay, good morning everyone. Is everyone chipper this morning? All right, that means there's a lot of Red Sox fans in the house. Okay, I'm very excited that the Chamber is able to provide our members with another in a series of free educational seminars in which you, the business community, have an opportunity today to find out the viewpoints for each of the first Selectman's candidates, specifically with regard to issues facing businesses, and also to have a forum today to express your concern to our town leaders. I'm going to keep it very brief. I'd also like to thank the committee and Carol, who worked extremely hard on putting this event together, and also for the University of New Haven for providing our moderator today, who's a relatively new chamber member, and we're glad we can form a unity with the university, and also Grassy Hill Country Club for hosting today's event. With that, I'd like to introduce our moderator today. He asked me to keep it brief, but he's got a very extensive bio. Dr. Kleinfeld serves as Associate Provost for Graduate Studies, Research, and Faculty Development for the University of New Haven. In that capacity, he's responsible for assisting the operational leadership of the Provost Office, oversight of the graduate school, university support, and oversight of sponsored faculty research and non-discipline specific faculty department. He earned his BS, MS, and his degree in industrial engineering from the School of Engineering and Applied Science at Columbia University, and he's the author of the text Engineering Economics Analysis for Evaluation of Alternatives. He has also received the Sears Roebuck Excellence in Teaching Award at UNH, and during his previous tenure as chair of the Industrial Engineering Department, he served as an active member of the Council of Industrial Engineering Academic Department Heads of the United States. So with that, I'd like to welcome Dr. Ira Kleinfeld, our moderator today.
Thank you very much, Mike. At this time, I'd like to acknowledge Don Lewis, our Chamber past president, who also was a currently Chamber board member. and a member of the Chamber Legislative Committee. He will be doing our timing today and making sure that our candidates adhere to the time intervals that are permitted for the questions. And it's now my pleasure to introduce our candidates for the very important office of First Selectman. Introducing first our incumbent, Mr. Jim ZEOLI. Jim is very well known in town as a school bus owner and operator for 22 years, as well as having worked the Shamrock Farm for 25 years. He's been a very active member of the Orange Board of Selectmen, that's been since 1999, and has served on the School Building Committee, the Personnel Committee, and the Tribute Tree Committee, in addition to being a long-serving volunteer fireman. Our challenger is Paul TARBOX. Mr. TARBOX is also well known in town, both for his community and national military service. Paul served on active duty in Iraq during 2004 and 2005 with the 118th Medical Battalion. He served as a communication systems expert. Here at home, Mr. TARBOX is a member of the Orange Government Access Television Committee, the Orange Special Events Committee, and on the state level, he is presently Assistant Clerk of the General Assembly Select Committee on Veterans Affairs. Okay, based on a random toss of the coin that was done before breakfast, the opening remarks are going to be given by Mr. ZEOLI. And in turn, Mr. TARBOX has decided to answer the first question last, if I got my notes correct here, but I have it written down. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for their opening remarks, and after each question is asked, the candidate will have 2 minutes to give an answer, and each candidate will get a 1-minute rebuttal. So, coming up first for opening remarks is Mr. ZEOLI.
Good morning. Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. Thank you to the Chamber for hosting this event. Michael, you did a good job, your whole committee, very well done, except for the guy next to you. You know. I'm Jim ZEOLI. I was born here just a few days over 48 years ago. I was educated in the Orange Elementary School system, the Amity Middle School with junior high when I attended it. I went to Fairfield College Preparatory School, and I graduated from the University of Connecticut. In the provost's kind words, he hits on a few things that I've done in town. I have always believed I was brought up to give back to the community. Hence, I'm a retired life member of the Orange Volunteer Fire Department. I did provide transportation contract service for the Orange Elementary School system for over 22 years until I became First Selectman, and there would have been a conflict there, so I had to give it up. I also serve as chairman of District Animal Control currently, trying to put the wheels back on the wagon up there in a situation that became very unfortunate. I have also been chosen, I'm a commissioner of the state for the Advisory Commission to the Farmland Preservation for the state of Connecticut. On top of that, there's many other volunteer and paid organizations that I do belong to, but I find nothing more important than serving the town of Orange and the people of the town of Orange. After I graduated from UConn, I came back to Orange and I took over a business. Unfortunately, Mr. Jim Ewan died in March and I graduated in May, and I took over the business that's been in continuous operation since 1830. I've taken it over. I've been running it for over 25 years now successfully. As a matter of fact, this morning before I came here, I had to load pumpkins to take to an underprivileged program in Bridgeport. So I find that very enjoyable. It is my alternative. After leaving the office, some days you do need a stress relief, and that's my personal stress relief after working in town hall during the day. I enjoy serving the town very much, and I thank all of you for this opportunity to talk with Paul TARBOX today. I just want to ask one thing. Mr. Lewis held up the pink card. Now, does that mean time's up, or does that mean there's 10 seconds to go, or?
Time's up.
Very good.
And now the opening remarks from Mr. TARBOX.
Before we begin, I just want to clarify I'm a former member of the Special Events Committee and the Orange Government Access Television Committee. Hi, good morning. Let me begin by thanking the Orange Chamber of Commerce for the opportunity to participate in this debate. I would like to start by pointing out that the financial health of most small towns is directly tied to the financial health of the business community. I believe that the current administration has been neglecting our business community, and the neglect will translate into a decline of the business community's financial health. Orange owes it to our middle to small sized businesses to retain and attract larger retailers to bring people to shop in all of our stores. Anyone who drives in the Boston Post Road from Milford into Orange can see what I'm talking about when I speak of this decline. In Milford, you see a vibrant community growing in front of your eyes. As businesses close, old outdated buildings are being torn down and replaced with newer updated structures, which increase the commercial grand lists and help relieve the tax burdens on our homes. There's a sense of vitality and growth which is triggered by the demand of businesses to be located there. As you drive into Orange, you begin to see the older properties, with many vacancies or temporary businesses that do little for us. We are losing business to Milford, and the reason should be clear. Just ask yourself, if you were a new business, or even an existing business making the decision where to locate for the next 10 or 20 years, and you make the drive down the Post Road today, where would you want to locate? Milford, and for that matter West Haven, with its Exit 42 development, are seen as aggressive in seeking new business, while Orange is going to be seen as complacent, or worse, as against new business. It's never used to be this way. It wasn't that long ago that Orange used to be the place to be. We need to make changes in our approach to business before it is too late to encourage property owners to renovate the updated properties. They won't do it unless it makes financial sense, and it won't make financial sense without the total support of the town. We can't afford to lose the Office Match, Porch and Patios, and Drexel Heritage and replace them with temporary Halloween and fireworks stores. Orange can and must do better. We need permanent businesses to be our partners in keeping taxes down to benefit all of Orange. Thank you.
Okay, and our first question will be answered first by Mr. TARBOX. And the question is, the town's Planning and Zoning Commission approved the application for a Stu Leonard's dairy store to be built on Marsh Hill Road over 2 years ago. However, due to appeals in the courts by opponents of the project, it has not gotten underway. What will each of you do to move this project forward? Mr. TARBOX first.
Well, as I understand it, it's a matter in the courts right now. Apparently, the wetlands portion of it is still up, and it's going to be decided by next fall, which would leave one appeal left in the process, where the state Supreme Court could hear it if possible. The planning and zoning portion is now complete. So ultimately, as a first selectman, I would fully support Stu Leonard's because I believe the fact that it has $700,000 in tax revenue coming in. Additionally, our Planning and Zoning Commission has also approved a plan that would increase roads, where we'd actually get improvements on Marsh Hill Road, Lambert, Old Tavern, and a variety of others. So I think that it's actually a great store to locate because I think it'd be an anchor store to bring increased business flows around there. So as a first selectman, I would fully support Stu Leonard's coming into Orange.
Mr. ZEOLI.
Stu Leonard's, very interesting concept. I was telling people before June and July of this year that Stu Leonard's was going to be breaking ground in June or July. To my great surprise and to the town attorneys, Judge Nadeau decided to send it back to the courts for some wetlands hearings. The town of Orange has no control over that. Judge Nadeau had that control. It will be in the courts. Stu Leonard's is going to win. Stu Leonard's it's just not that strong, some of the issues. Stu Leonard's will be built there. The town attorney has been directed to defend our board as properly necessary. And when it happens, it will happen. If it's the best tax generator for dollar per acre or dollar per square foot, it is not. But Stu Leonard bought the property over 10 years ago. They own it. They went through the zoning process twice, and they have the right to build there. I think with the Yale's purchase of the Bear site for $109 million across the highway, and the Fields Brothers purchase of the Cuz Acres site for $5.5 million adjoining this, both going with a scientific twist to their desire of development of their sites and professional space. I think that that site does have alternative uses, but the town of Orange has no control over that at this time because they've received their approvals. So my personal thought on for or against is completely irrelevant. I'm also the one that owns property that's going to lose 22 feet deep of my front yard to make a turn lane headed north on Orange Center Road. Any of you want to lose 22 feet of your front yard so that you can increase the traffic right in front of your house? No, I've lived there since I was 12 years old. I have to survive that. So I have personal interest in this, and I study things about this besides just Stu Leonard's itself. It's a matter of impact on the total community and the impacts on the streets. They acknowledge their increase in traffic. Is it worth it just for that dollar amount? We'll see.
Our format calls for 1-minute rebuttals by each candidate. Mr. Tarbox?
Well, in a recent debate that Jim and I had at Congregation North Shalom, we were asked a question that if you were original member of the Planning and Zoning Commission, would you have approved of Stu Leonard's? And I said I would have voted for it. I mean, I'd have some hesitation about the traffic concerns, but since that's been widened. But Jim said he wouldn't have. And in terms of traffic, they actually have 68% of traffic supposed to come directly on and off 95. When I think that we've widened the roads, I think that in the future, we're going to have to revisit the policy of the traffic we have. We have a problem in this town when it comes to traffic. It's something that we need to address and serious. But I think ultimately, Stu Leonard's coming to town will be a good business partner. I think it'll be a good anchor store. And I think it's something that the majority of the Orange residents look forward to coming to town.
Okay, question number 2. For each of the candidates, do you feel that the town's commercial industrial area should be expanded from the way it currently exists? If so, how and where? And our question number 2 will first be answered by Mr. ZEOLI.
Unfortunately, there's not a lot of room to expand it unless we expand it into areas along Indian River Road into some of the residential areas. We seem to have a little fight between the two zones right now. We do have some retail in that area. We have some industrial just on the other side of the street from it. We've received many inquiries for property surrounding that whole area on the Marsh Hill corridor at this time. Realtor was in speaking to me the other day. The Halipass deal about the hotel and restaurant had come apart, and they're now ready to negotiate with somebody new. That's 6 acres right on the side of the exit of 41 on Marsh Hill. Mr. DeLito has purchased a bunch of properties on Salemi Lane, knowing that the train station is coming into that area. The people at the Cello Distributors are very interested in developing that train station. Well, that's not by accident. That's a benefit to our whole region, and they see that. And working with Ed Crowley on that and spending repeated trips to Hartford over that is the reason we're trying to promote it, to get it into that area, to develop that whole corridor. It'll help Yale University. It'll help the other workforce in that area. It will make it possible to run transit. I've already spoken with Connecticut Transit. They would have a bus loop that goes up through there to the Stu Leonard site, through Edison Road, down along the Post Road. This has already all been talked about and discussed with at the state level to expand that area. I would like to see that base expanded, but we need to bring in the right businesses which are looking to join up in that. Brantford just got a $37 million building being developed as part of a spin-off of Yale University out there. When Yale sets foot on that west campus up there, what was formerly the Bear campus, you will see that spin-off in Orange as well.
And now Mr. TARBOX.
Well, there's a couple things about the Yale acquisition. I mean, we're losing Bear, and with that, we're losing hundreds of thousands of dollars in actual equipment costs that actually Bear carried, as well as losing all the motor vehicle fees. And with that, we actually have to go with pilot funding to actually pay for the property tax that now Yale will be bringing in. And we pay for that what's called pilot, which is payment in lieu of taxes. Now, by state statute, the maximum that goes up to is 74%. But currently, the funding's at 58%. So we're going to have a $250,000 to $300,000 shortfall. And the problem with the pilot list is the more businesses that go on that, the less dollars we receive. So ultimately, the fact is we're going to have an in-depth study to actually find out where we're going to make that shortfall up. Now, I do agree with the idea of bringing in a transportation network to go from the railroad that's in development to go around the Orange shopping systems. I think that's a good idea. But ultimately, in terms of the original question about zoning regulations, I think we're very fortunate in this town for the zoning regulations we have. I think the original town fathers were well thought out. And I believe that we have a very good blend between residential and between our commercial and light industrial. And with that, I'll never say never, but I'd be hesitant to change that. And actually, I've been receiving a lot of flack over that about my opposition to the senior housing, well, the active adult community at the northern end of town. I don't like the idea that we're actually going to have a sewer network coming in there, because I believe that I can open us up to lawsuits in the future where we can be forced to have to develop condominiums, apartments, for the fact that there's a sewer district there. And I believe it's, the great thing about America is you can sue anybody for anything, and we're more than likely to actually be sued over that, and we may lose. I also don't like the project because I don't believe it's affordable. I think the average ranch in Orange is $387,000, and with those units, the majority of which have $400,000 to $500,000 apiece, I don't think it's the right price. I think the age from 62 to 55 being reduced is not necessary. We have over 3,000 seniors in the town of Orange. And most importantly, it's not exclusive only to Orange residents. There's no provision there. Time done.
1 minute rebuttal, Mr. ZEOLI.
We are already being sued over that denial, just so you know, Paul. We're being sued by the developer on that. I would like to see improvements in our commercial industrial area. I would like to see buildings refurbished, some buildings removed, some new buildings built. But unfortunately, the town of Orange works with property owners and property management companies, some through my office, and most of those calls, probably all of those calls, are done hand in hand with Paul Grimmer. I contact Paul, who is director of the Orange Economic Development Commission. I think most of you know Paul. And the other commission there, Economic Development Commission. I think it's very important that we work hand in hand and we see new development in that area. And currently there's a committee that is studying the sign requirements out there. The regulations were drawn up many years ago, and they're reviewing the sign regulations for the post road to entice customers into your stores and businesses. Sign was up.
Rebuttal number 2, Mr. TARBOX.
I just wanted to clarify the lawsuit I was talking about was not the one with the developer suing us now. It's actually in the future with the fact of a sewer development being there. I'm sorry, a sewer district being there. We've seen examples in Milford where Avalon has sued the city of Milford actually to try to bring in housing structures. And the only thing that saved them is the fact that by law you couldn't force the city to extend a sewer district. So that's the only reason that type of development didn't happen in Milford in those areas. Where in Orange, if we don't have any type of sewer district in the northern end of our town, but now if we put it there and somebody develops a parcel, we would be susceptible to that type of lawsuit. So just want to clarify that.
Okay, for both candidates, question number 3. What are your thoughts about the town working in conjunction with the Chamber of Commerce to bring businesses to Orange and retain them? And specifically, how would you recommend working with the Chamber? First to answer this question, number 3, Mr. TARBOX.
Well, I think the chamber has been an invaluable resource lately. The fact that you guys are doing extremely well in networking, the leads group, the business after hours, I believe it's a great tool to try to get the word out about the different types of capacities that each business in Orange has. I'd like to see that actually expand in the future, because I believe it's actually a really great start. What I'd like to do is I'd like to essentially restart the Post Road Committee. I believe that in the past we had a very, very good committee that actually looked towards the future of the Boston Post Road and implemented positive changes. That's something that essentially I'd like to see, and I think that ultimately the first selectman's door consistently needs to be open with the members of the chambers to find out through polls or personal contact exactly what you need. As a politician, I can tell you what I think you need, but ultimately you guys are the guys on the ground. And as a military, I always know that you can ask a general something, but if you don't talk to a soldier, it's not going to happen. So ultimately, I want to make sure that the business community is a vibrant part of my administration, find out exactly what you need and whatever I can provide. That's my role with the chamber.
Mr. ZEOLI for question number 3.
My door is always open in reaching out to the business community. A lot of my outreach is done through Paul Grimmer. Unfortunately, I couldn't meet with Paul Grimmer yesterday after the sign committee meeting the night before, due to the fact that yesterday was extremely busy from 8 in the morning till I got home from District Animal Control meeting at about 10:30 last night. Yes, Bridget, there was a meeting. I see her looking at Marilyn Moss. We work with Carol. Where's Carol? Carol, there we go. Since Carol took over, Carol has hit the ground running. We're working very hard. We've had some discussions. Carol is somewhat concerned about the Chamber of Commerce office's exposure when we met for the first time with Mike Riccitelli. There's a possibility that the office itself needs a little more exposure, but the chamber itself is working very hard due to hard work of all you people in here. You come out, you support at the business after hours, you support at morning events like this. We have people like Lou Iannacilli. I don't know, Lou, are you doing your Festival of Lights this year? They do at Laurel Gardens. It's been an event that has drawn hundreds of people and raised many thousands of dollars. That's a fabulous event. We've had business after hours at Diamond Designs, at Orange Fence, at some of the different banks. This is how we get outreach and exposure into our business community, and my door is always open. If I'm unavailable, they can reach me by cell or might leave a message with Karen Goldberg or Ann Petty, and I'm back to you within the day, provided I'm in town. More than willing to meet with anybody, and like I said, our biggest study right now is the sign regulations for some of our post road merchants to draw people into your businesses. That comes right on the heels of we need to get some of the property owners and property management companies to consider refurbishment or revitalization of sites. I mean, we have some beautiful sites right opposite Hitchcock Plaza. It's a beautiful 6 or so acre site, but the building that's there is kind of tired. It's a key site with signalization. Let's work to get that. Paul has talked to the people. If they're not ready to act, we can't act.
Rebuttal number 1, Mr. TARBOX.
I believe that the successful organization comes from the determination of the leader, effectively. And I believe that Mr. ZEOLI is saying that he's really has his open door policy and he's really fighting hard. But he's also on the record in newspapers saying the fact that he believes businesses come, businesses go, and that there's no role the first selectman can really do. I totally disagree with that statement. I think that we need to be aggressive and proactive and consistently trying to bring businesses in the town of Orange. I think it's a direct tie-in between the first selectman's office and the business communities on the Post Road. I don't think it's just you alone. I think there's a lot to do with government, between finding resources, between help and mentoring, between being a cheerleader for the town. Whatever capacity I can do as first selectman, I will do to try to make sure the stores and businesses are being attracted, retained, and kept in the town of Orange. Thank you.
Rebuttal number 2, Mr. ZEOLI.
My comments about businesses coming and going I am not a commercial realtor, nor do I profess to be. My comments come from the Orange Economic Development Corporation, from the president and another board member who are both commercial realtors. They advise me on that. Alan Fisher and Carl Russell are commercial realtors who I ask when I have concerns. The vacant stores on our post road that Paul is referring to have been driven by bankruptcies and unfortunately some poor business climate for them. They were maybe not the stores for it, or maybe after 50 or 60 years, like Porch and Patio, Mr. Titleman sold out a very successful business. The people who took it over were not as successful. It's all a management situation within them. We cannot help that Lazy Boy decided to build a new store where the old Frank's was. But we have a gourmet food store going into their old store on the post road right next to Bank of America. So we are outreaching. Paul Grimmer has been working. We put a flyer together, which we do target mailings of. This is how we attempt to attract investors, property management companies, real estate companies to our town.
Question number 4. What do you believe the town of Orange should be doing to attract new business and industry? Would you support a tax incentive plan to encourage business to come to town? And if so, what type of plan would you favor? First to answer, Mr. ZEOLI.
What I just started to touch on there, and then the sign came up for Mr. Lewis. The Orange Economic Development Commission or Corporation with Paul Grimmer, we did a mailer. We're going to do another fall mailer. We target sites that are commercial industrial in nature, and we received commercial industrial investor mailing list, which Paul sent out, and Anne-Marie, to the right people. We have some sites that I would love to see redeveloped. The Firelight Shopping Center. It's a run-down, very sad-looking shopping center. It's time that it be demolished and something new go there. But until Mr. Cohen from New York decides that he's willing to drop below his $7.5 million price, we can't do a thing about it. There have been people interested in it. We could do a small scale like what they've done down at Wayside in Milford, or you could do a mixed use like they did with Brookside Commons on Indian River Road. But until those property owners decide that they want to either build it or sell it, we are stuck. I have reached out to these people, talked to Doug Hempstead from Stu Leonard's yesterday. We're trying to work on the Edison Road completion. Also in hand with that, we have some different thoughts. We're looking towards an art center in town, and I think that arts and entertainment theater might be better fit on the part of Stu Leonard's property where they wanted to build their conference center. I think that would be an ideal spot for that. I think that the arts and entertainment deserve a proper location, and it would go hand in hand in our commercial district, and it would benefit our community and members of our community. It would benefit Stu Leonard's, and it would benefit all in our area would come to that situation. That's how I would work to improve the area.
Mr. TARBOX for question number 4.
Yeah, we're talking about business closings, and unfortunately, this isn't something that's a regional phenomenon. This seems to be specific to Orange. If you look at Milford's booming, and the mayor actually projected that he had an 86% increase to his grand list from the commercial base. And we've had stores like Drexel Heritage, Lazy Boy. We've had Porch and Patio. And I understand some of these have left because of economic troubles. But the same point is, what are we doing to retain them? What are we doing to talk to them? What are we doing to actually go forth and study what the different towns in the different areas are doing to actually offer tax incitements? I mean, we have older aging buildings. We could actually try to offer tax abatements to try to get those people to actually fix their buildings in a trade-off. But the fact is, we want the longevity of the buildings and the businesses in Orange. And my opponent actually took a shot at me in my first debate with him, saying that my headquarters was owned by Mr. Riccitelli. but I want to actually say that his is still vacant after 2 years ago. He used the same headquarters for his campaign. I mean, we need to be proactive and aggressive in filling these stores. We need to look at different types of approaches, different types of businesses. We need to go outside the Orange's border and find out what other communities are doing to be successful. We need to touch at the state and federal level to find out what type of grants we can bring in to bring dollars back here. But ultimately, we need to do whatever we have to do to make sure our commercial district is thriving. That's where the tax money comes in, to offer much needed relief to our residents. So I'm pretty much open to as much as I can possibly do to make sure that the commercial industry is thriving, to bring down the tax dollars for our residents.
First, 1 minute rebuttal, Mr. ZEOLI.
In town policy, there already are 2 tax abatement levels. One is at a $4 million threshold, one is at $15 million threshold. The $15 million was set up by Bear. The $4 million one was set up for some of our smaller commercial economic developers. That one was achieved by Rhode Island Bottling, a beverage over there on Conair Drive, Robinson Boulevard. We have those types of incentives already in place in the town of Orange. Paul has publicized that as new businesses come in, as people are willing to build new buildings and invest in the community. The headquarters that Mr. TARBOX is talking about is part of the Firelight Shopping Center that I already touched on. And there again, that's an unfortunate situation. It's a gateway to the town of Orange, and I've spoken to them down there. We've had meetings with them, but unfortunately, until some of the realtors in this room or outside of this room can strike a deal there, that building, it may be my headquarters in 2 years again, I don't know.
Final rebuttal on this question, Mr. TARBOX.
Granville Furniture, not there. Howard Video, not there. Hitchcock Furniture, not there. Office Max, Halloween store. Drexel Heritage, Halloween store. Stu Leonard's, still not there, still no $700,000. Levitt's, gone. Circuit City, transportation hub, until their lease runs out. Curves, Mr. ZEOLI's headquarters, still vacant, 2 years. Bull Hill Plaza, 7 stores, 2 filled. Think the town policy's not working.
The fifth and final question from the Legislative Committee, this will be followed by your questions of participants here today. Fifth question. What do you see as the biggest challenges facing the Orange business community, and what are you planning to do to address these issues? To answer question number 5 first, Mr. TARBOX.
Sorry, could you say that one more time?
Sure. What do you see as the biggest challenges facing the Orange business community, and what are you planning to do to address these issues?
Again, I think that the biggest challenge is of taxes. And I think we need to take a hard look for the tax situation for both our commercial and our residential side. We need to look into the spending we're doing. I mean, we've double spending, we've actually quadruple spending for the town of Orange. And I believe that the biggest breaks we can give it to also our residents, they'll shop in Orange. And we need to have proactive leadership. I think that's the biggest key, is proactive, aggressive leadership that really wants to see difference. That's one to think outside the box, to look to other communities for innovative ideas. Again, if you can see the stark difference directly on the other side of our border, it's not like a phenomenon that's going on across the entire state. It's a problem that we have here and needs to be fixed here.
Mr. ZEOLI for question number 5.
Well, those are very nice pictures that Paul displayed, but unfortunately, the determination of some of those businesses was done even before I was in office. We talk of Milford. Jim Riccitelli is running again. This will be his 4th term. Unfortunately, it takes more than 2 years. We've worked with developers. We're working with developers. To bring business forward is not something that's going to happen overnight. Bankruptcies and financial situations of corporations, whether we give a tax incentive or not on the local level, is not going to pull these businesses out of a hole that's created. Like I said, I am more than willing to work with these people. I'm more than willing to work with all of you. In tough times and economic downturns, which we have seen is coming, I think that we need to see what happens. It'll carry through the holiday season, and then after, I'm afraid that there might be a slump. I'm not Greenspan. I can't adjust the interest rates. But unfortunately, business needs to entice people in, whether through group advertising, working with the landlords, working with management, working on the sign committees to let people know you're there. This is all part of it. If we do suffer an economic downturn, you will see slowing down of the building of those buildings as well. Complete Construction that did that wayside site has very little work right now. Several of the other large construction companies have very little work right now. They get that information through people that are in the trades, representatives of businesses that do that type of work. It is on a slow side right now. This has been building, and right now we're into a little bit of a slow side. That is reality. We'll work and do what we can to offer the right fit, but economics of the whole region, as Paul keeps talking, we can't help. We're working, Stop and Shop, that building on Bull Hill Lane. As long as they pay the lease on it, we've tried to reach out to them. Paul and I have talked about this. Paul, will they break their payment on that building?
Nope.
Thank you.
First 1 minute rebuttal, Mr. TARBOX.
I view a lot of this as an economic maintenance issue. If you have stores effectively leaving, the first selectman's office, as well as the town, has to do everything they can to entice them to stay. But also, I mean, we're talking about the role the chamber plays with the first selectman's office. You guys have a wealth of knowledge and information about what tricks you've done to sustain yourself in the hard times, what different ideas and creative ideas. And I think that's a role that can be expanded to try to mentor the troubled businesses even more. I mean, I know that there's business seminars and programs. I know a lot of you talk independently, but that could be a specific angle. Find out specifically what people are doing in businesses where they're having a hard time, whether it's financial accountability, how they do their sales, revisiting the sign policy. But ultimately, I think it's a dual area. We need the businesses to help support themselves. We also need the first selectman to provide the help and the resources they need.
Final 1 minute rebuttal, Mr. ZEOLI.
As we work with all of you, we respect all of you. We will reach out. Come, tell us what you need. We've done the mailings. We've done national magazine advertisement. The Orange Economic Development Corporation meets every month. They have the full board meeting every quarter. We welcome people to come to those meetings. We're not exclusionary. In the meantime, you can come to us and let us know what your desires are. Paul and I and his team of him and Anne Marie reach out on a regular basis. We get over 1,000 hits on your website, Paul, of people looking with interest to locate in Orange. They're looking to see what is available on our website for locations and square footages. So their interest is there. We're working to entice people. When they come to us, we meet with them. We will continue to meet with them. We're doing the best we can with what we got. If it doesn't fit, we tell them so. Paul has brought in a couple things just recently. Their fit wasn't quite right. However, Paul, I need to talk to you about one afterwards. I put a phone call in through that Scott man that was in our office. We work with everybody who wants to meet with us. Thank you.
Okay, we're now proceeding to the next phase, the final phase, or next to final phase in questions. These are the questions from the floor, and these mandate a 1-minute response from each candidate without rebuttal. First question, what opportunities for transit-oriented development do you see for the Orange train station? And the first for that is Mr. ZEOLI.
Well, the state is working on a program where they would like to see housing located near a train station. It's a difficult twist for us in Orange because where the train station would be located if developed is to the rear of DiCello Distributors. That area is in our commercial industrial development area. Yale wants to see it. DiCello wants to see it. Some of the other merchants would want to see it. So that's what drove me to meet with the transit people and Connecticut DOT up in Hartford on several occasions, because we would be taking people off of 95 that are commuting to New York and Westchester and Fairfield counties down that way by taking the train. But it would stay in our commercial industrial zone, which isn't open to residential type of development, but it is open to locating more spin-off businesses that would be in need of transit for employees and people. I don't know if there's a freight line, we haven't talked about freight, strictly people coming into that entire corridor. So working with Connecticut Transit on the busing and DOT on the train and the commercial industrial corridor, that's what we're looking at up there.
Mr. TARBOX.
Ultimately, I have two ideas for what I'd like to see for how to implement transportation networks around the train station. And I think one, it's West Haven actually has a great model. What they use is, we've talked about it previously, that trolley that goes around and visits all the Orange businesses. So if you can essentially get off the train, jump on this trolley, and go throughout the stores and not have to have the threat of doing battle with traffic, you probably spend more money and be a little more relaxed. But also another part is part of my senior proposal. And that's if you can get the 3 towns of Woodbridge, Bethany, and Orange, or other nearby communities to band together to get 25,000 citizens, there's another $50,000 grant that we can apply for to form an independent transportation network. And that would help out seniors as they're trying to get around the different towns. And I'm sure the fact that ultimately the train station would be a stop there. So between the train station and going to the different businesses, I think between those two, they'd be good starting points.
This question is from the floor, is a little bit longer. I won't want to say long-winded, I'll just say a little longer. So bear with me. Bear with me. It's on 2 sides of the card. So, currently, the town completely prohibits businesses from promoting their products or services via temporary banners or signs. This includes grand opening sales, new hiring specials, etc. Political signs and commercial real estate signs seem exempt, but quote, buy from me, unquote, signs are confiscated and businesses fined for trying to promote their goods. Do you believe the 100% zero tolerance role for promotional signs is business friendly? And what leadership role would you personally undertake to modify the rules, so that Orange businesses could use inexpensive signs? And first for this, Mr. TARBOX.
Can I borrow that card?
Yeah.
The first thing I want to do is just get rid of all signs. No. Effectively, in my campaign, we've been talking a lot, and this is one of the most pretentious issues we're talking about. But the way I look at it is, I'm not a fan of the signs that the affordable housing, the 1-800 mortgage for 99.9%. I really can't stand those being littered all over town, so I'm really against those. But the signs advertising legitimate businesses, I'm open to reinterpreting the town policy. I mean, I think that between a combination of having a business be able to actually show that they're having a sale or some type of attraction, I just think we need to make sure it's tastefully done and modeled in the same way. But I know right now it's hard, but again, I think that we can probably relook at that because I think, if anything, if we're struggling, we need to have another tool. So, you want that question?
Mr. ZEOLI.
Just to touch on the last one for just 1 second, those trolley buses that you see around are part of the Connecticut Transit provided transportation, which is one of the things we did talk about. And in regards to grants for transportation, Paul wants to go with 3 towns. I was able to achieve, myself and Carol Nardini, a $22,000, $500,000 grant for transportation just for the town of Orange. So we got almost half of what he's looking for without pairing up with 2 other towns. We can't get them to run an animal control center together properly. I don't know how a transit authority would work properly. However, on the signage, a committee has been put together. It was started by actually a property owner / landlord on the Post Road who was very upset with all of the signs, temporary signs springing up along the Post Road. Committee has been formed. Some members of this room are on it. Paul and I meet on it regularly. The chairman of zoning is on it. And we are already looking into that situation. Certain signage with time limits, I think, is something that is very doable in our Post Road commercial corridor. It's just a matter of it being done properly and managed properly, so not to offend some while allowing for others. It has to be equally enforced, which is what is being reviewed right now.
Question for Mr. Riccitelli. My agenda shows that we're right up for... No?
Prepared to answer the question.
Well, this is an agenda question. It shows that we're ready for closing remarks, but do you prefer we take one more question?
We have time for 1 or 2 more.
One. Okay, so according to this, we'll do one more question then. Okay, so this is the final question from the floor. Would you please state your business management and financial experience in the business community? And first to take that, Mr. ZEOLI.
That's a surprise. I took over a business. I already stated in my opening. I was there when I was 12 or 13 years old, and I'm still there at 48 years old. The business I took over after I got out of college. Over 25 years. It's been in operation as a family farm since 1830, and the Ewens took me into it after, as they became aged. I got a lot of good advice from some other local people, and we support a lot of the business community in needs of whether it be plantings, decorations, advice. We support a lot of the schools. Peck Place this past weekend with their Pumpkin and Halloween Fair, schools in Bridgeport this morning, quite a few tours with the nursery schools and preschool children like that. We've been open for business. We open in April and generally close with the Christmas season. We just do what we can to be part of the community, whether dollar-wise or volunteer-wise. And as you can see, my belly button's not touching my backbone, so it looks like we've been rather successful in town.
Okay, Mr. TARBOX for floor question number 3.
That's not fair to have to follow.
Let's see how you do.
Okay, in terms of financial experience, I've actually spent time as a accounts receivable manager where I worked for companies where we actually had massive debt and we were able to bring it back down to a fair balance. Not quite zero, but close. I've also worked as a mid-level employee for First Union Bank as in the Future Bank Implementation Department, responsible for knowing 13 different states worth of laws, regulations, various banks, bank policy accounts, mortgage brokerage, checking, savings, credit. Constable, Town of Orange. we were able to successfully bring about majority of the tax warrants that was issued. Some people unfortunately slipped through. But majority of the management experience I have comes from the military. And it comes from been in the military for just about 10 years now. And I served overseas in Iraq in situations then when management's really kind of
Go ahead, finish.
Done.
Keep going. Go ahead.
it's important. It's important to know then in management because otherwise you kind of get shot. But hey, go ahead.
We're now ready for the candidates' closing remarks, which will be 2 minutes each, and beginning the first closing remarks from Mr. ZEOLI.
Thank you. You two are in trouble, if you know what I mean. I'd like to thank all of you and the people at home for giving me these 2 years. It has been quite a learning experience for me. It's been very rewarding serving the town. I have met a lot of great and wonderful people that I would have never had exposure to had I not had this position. And we look forward to working. You will see expansion. By the time my next term finishes, you will see development on Indian River Road on the Cuzzacrio site. You will see Edison Road completed. You will see the Post Road signage rules reevaluated and completed, and working hard for all of you to make that a benefit to your businesses. You will see new businesses on that street. You may see some businesses no longer on that street. But I'm very excited as we look forward to new and mixed use developments. I'm excited in seeing the Brookside Commons development come along. It was paved about a week ago, and they're working on fitting out some facilities there for people that are getting ready to move in. I am very excited for the town of Orange to see this happen. It helps stabilize our community. It helps bring more tax base to our community. And as our business grows and we offer more services to the community, we need that to happen. And I thank you all for being here, and I thank you all for giving me this opportunity to be your first selectman. I look forward to another 2 years of it.
And now Mr. TARBOX's closing remarks.
I would once again like to thank the Chamber for the opportunity to participate in this debate. 2 years ago, my opponent stood at a podium such as this and asked that Orange residents for a chance to lead our great community. The main reason he cited for the need for change was lower taxes and lowering government spending. He said he had a plan to lower taxes, a plan to cut spending, and a plan to solve traffic problems. Here we are, 2 years later. Not only have we had our taxes gone up under Mrs. ZEOLI by a rate that is 4 times higher than the rate of inflation, he has guaranteed that you'll be seeing more tax increases for the next 4 years. Over the past 2 years, the town budget has increased from $48 million to $53 million. What's worse is that our grand list is not keeping up with the spending increases. We will have a $250,000 shortfall from the bear dropping off the grand list, a number that will only get larger with each and every year. Mr. ZEOLI has finally admitted that he does not support Stu Leonard's in town, along with the $700,000 in ad revenue that would bring. The only plan to solve traffic problems seems to be less traffic due to commercial vacancies. The truth is, Mr. ZEOLI had no plan 2 years ago. And what's worse is he has no plan today. During this campaign, I proposed positive ideas to make life better for Orange residents. My opponent has only promised you 2 more years of the same. 2 more years of higher taxes, 2 more years of increased spending, 2 more years opposing Stu Leonard's, and 2 more years of overpaying for land, and 2 more years of declining economic development. The choice is clear for Orange voters. I am ready, willing, and able to bring my life experiences and innovative ideas to Orange as your first selectman. With our country at war with the forces of terrorism, I volunteered to serve my country and served it with pride. Upon returning from Iraq, I saw a calling to connect against veterans and help draft legislation to improve the quality of their life. Now I see a calling to my town to serve as your first selectman. It is our time, a time to look towards the future of Orange. With your help and your vote on Election Day, together we can lead Orange forward. Thank you. Thank you to our moderator.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in thanking both of our candidates for stepping forward.
Thank you all for joining us this morning. Hopefully you'll come back for all the rest of our events throughout the year. And thank you for being chamber members. I challenge you each to bring in one more new member. Thank you. Have a good day.